This is Rumor Control. Here are the facts.
Welcome to Perfect Organism. This is Rumor Control. Here are the facts. I am J.M. Prater, your co-host, and I am joined by...
Patrick Green. What up, everybody?
And today we just felt the need to, happy 4th of July, first of all. Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, happy 4th of July, everybody. I got to say, it is super hot here in Boston today. It is like probably about 100 degrees. And actually, our bearded dragon is just hanging out outside with us today because he's like, doesn't have to sun himself because it's that hot. So
because he's
hopefully
dead.
It's probably hot for you, too. Because he's alive. God damn it, he's alive.
It's like, oh, look, he's red. He's crispy.
How you doing? Are you hot over there?
No, it's been in the 80s mostly. It's supposed to get into
Really?
109 degrees, like 109 degrees for the next 3 days after this. But it's dry heat, man.
That's true. Not out here. Not sweltering. Anyway, we've got a couple of things we wanted to talk to you guys about briefly today. There's this unsubstantiated, but maybe partially substantiated rumor that was shared by Omega Underground yesterday about an in-development Alien series. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to wrap up quickly by addressing an article that Jamie shared that I think resonated with both of us, maybe in partly different ways, which is something that I think we'll probably unpack in more depth on a subsequent episode at some point. So we want to talk about those two things, and then also to let you know what we have coming down the pipeline, which is we're returning to our Resurrection series. We're recording tomorrow night on the pre-production and the development of that film, of that film, and we're also
that
talking
imperfect, beautiful film.
Hashtag blessed. And we're also going to be talking about we got some cool interviews coming up with people, some production designers from Covenant, and some other very cool stuff. So it's exciting. We've got a lot going on.
It is exciting.
First, we got to talk about this Omega Underground rumor. So, Jamie, you want to take us up to speed?
Okay, so yeah, there have been rumblings, I suppose, about stuff happening with Alien. You and I have speculated that the type of maintenance or the type of ongoing outreach that the official Alien page has been giving to the fan base has been unprecedented. Typically, that type of thing only happens with something that's coming out. So if there's something happening, pages usually continue to reach out and to make fan connections and all of that kind of thing. Also, they posted something on Meteor Day. Just this odd posting by the official. What is a meteor? It's something out there that's coming. By or closer. That's what a meteor is. Why would they? It doesn't really make any sense. Who gives a shit about Meteor Day? I mean, I think meteors are interesting, but the fact that the alien,
it's a chance to get some social media footholds and
totally.
to get a little bit of shares, get some social stuff. And I agree. There's something to be said for when a social page goes from sharing maybe one behind the scenes image every 3 months to posting almost every single day,
or twice a day.
And having the twice a day short film competition, meme generated things, user art, submitted art. It's pretty clear something's happening. And we should also be upfront with you, the listeners, and just tell you that we have heard of unsubstantiated whispers throughout the industry to the same effect as what was shared in the Omega Underground article. None of this has been verified. There's none of this that we can actually report on, but there have been things being said for weeks now that have sort of been bantied about. So this is not – we got to be very, very clear here. We're not saying that this is news. We're not saying that we're sharing facts with anybody. We're saying that there are reasons rumors spread, and that when rumors come at you from multiple sources, it's at least worth discussing the implications of. So what we want to do today is not to be fake news about this, but we want to just have a conversation about what it could be like.
I hate using any term that – whatever.
Right. I'm with you on that.
But what's exciting about this is the possibility. And for those of us, people who like you who loved Covenant, didn't like Prometheus, I kind of like Prometheus a little bit more than Covenant, but we're all complicated about it. And this is going to touch on our second topic, which is that article we'll get to in a minute. The Alien fandom, I think, is really doing a good job of coming back and kind of coalescing and becoming just a more healthy fan base. And I feel like it's because of many of us who've decided to say, hey, no, we are kind of a band of brothers and sisters, and let's enjoy this for what it is. But it's no coincidence and it's no joke that we need something that we can all get behind. And I think we don't really know what this series, if it's a series, we don't know for sure what it's going to be. but there are rumblings that it's about the Colonial Marines, which I think it might be a good idea. Not because I'm a big Marine fan, but I think it's a way for people to find commonality. It's a way for people to join together. And if it's a series, so say it's a 10-episode series, so you're talking probably an hour long, most definitely 10 hours if it's on a streaming service. That's a lot of character development, and if there's a lot there. There's a lot for fans to sink their teeth into.
I was thinking about how I think we're all in agreement that The Expanse is an amazing sci-fi series, right?
Absolutely.
Which you and I haven't even talked about The Expanse at all somehow. I don't know how.
We need to have an episode about that.
But yeah, we should.
For Patreon.
I think that model would be a great one for some sort of a TV adaptation because it's very long form. The story takes a lot of time. It's very complicated. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot of character development. And because it's been spread out now across these very big seasons, like a lot of larger arcs have been able to form. And it doesn't have – so my big worry with this, if it becomes a TV series, and if this is actually anything that's really happening, which of course we don't know about, my concern would be if they put it out, say, on Fox – the TV network.
No.
Or but they did like The Exorcist.
They did, but this
which is actually not bad.
Yeah, I've tried to watch a little bit of The Exorcist. It's okay, but this stuff
it's
needs
okay,
to
but
be.
It feels like a network show.
Yeah, it does, and this Aliens requires hard R.
Yeah, it does. It requires genuine scariness. It requires long form storytelling without commercial breaks every 2 seconds, and the problem is when you have something on a major network like that, because you're making it for such a mass media audience, you have to water certain things down. Mm-hmm. And I think that would just be such a recipe for disaster. So what I was saying to you, something I would love would be for this to be an FX series, actually. Because I think if you look at shows like Fargo or Nip Tuck, like FX has done a lot of Legion, a lot of very complicated dark storytelling. Mm-hmm. It's got a very adult audience. You can get it through streaming services a lot of the time, but also it exists on most people's cable subscriptions. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have, for example, a Netflix subscription, you can still watch it very easily. Mm-hmm. And they give a ton of, but like the fact that they have bankrolled Legion across, I think it just got renewed for another season.
Legion is fucking amazing. It's amazing.
Well, it's crazy too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a show that's very challenging. It's not like a mass market ready product, and their numbers reflect that. It is not a hit show by any means, except for with critics. Mm-hmm. And yet FX is like, you know what?
We are
stewards of this art, and we're going to do what we can to push it through. So yeah, I think FX would be great. And I was thinking because I'm thinking about FX and I'm thinking about Fargo and Legion in particular, how having Noah Hawley on board for this would be freaking awesome as a showrunner. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah, or maybe what's his name? Oh, Brad. I can't remember his last name. Oh my gosh. No. Anyways, I'll think of that. But I think to your point, I think either FX or Hulu, or which Fox owns shares of, something that can really allow the show to really be its own thing without watering it down. It doesn't need commercial breaks. It needs to be really as brutal as Aliens or whatever. And I also would hope that they go low tech, that they set it in a universe of Alien or Aliens or Alien 3, and it feels low tech. It doesn't feel new. I mean, it's going to have that new look a little bit, but just that they research and go for an aesthetic that has been mined already, and also make it, if I don't know what it's going to be about, but let's not recast old characters. Let's make it new characters. Let's give it its own life, and it can feel familiar and feel like similar and be very different.
Exactly. So. And I would love something that I think about a lot, and this is something my friend Drew has brought up many times, is that Star Wars, of which you and I are both huge fans, there is something a little problematic about the fact that like every single loose end ties around to basically one family and a couple of friends of theirs. That everything, these momentous events in this entire galaxy are all basically because of the Skywalkers and like a couple of other people. Yeah. And there was something I understand why from a storytelling standpoint, and I'm not knocking Star Wars for this at all, but I feel like we try to shoehorn Alien into that as well. And actually, this is a good segue, if it's okay, I think, into our second part of the conversation. Although we can come back
Ripley.
To it. But no, not Ripley. But the fact that as we get more answers to things, we lose a little bit of the feeling of realness and of mystery that I think horror and science fiction kind of rely upon. And I think that as much as I love Covenant, that something I don't like about it is that it is at least providing a starting point for a lot of answers to questions. So to me, if there's a third film in this prequel trilogy, which I think there should be, just to have at least some sort of a conclusion to it, I feel like I want some answers, but those answers to beget questions that we haven't even considered yet. So that way the original trilogy will feel new and fresh and still mysterious, but there'll still be the mythos, which has already been started to be fleshed out, will at least feel like it's not abandoned kind of in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, all this is to say, just to wrap up what I was saying briefly, is that if they do have this sort of a 10 episode, say, Colonial Marines series, I want new characters, and I want it to feel like it's a part of this universe, but they're exploring different star systems. They're encountering different types of, because remember, the whole reason we call them xenomorphs in the first place is because in Aliens they say, like xenomorph as a category of an other creature, right? Like that's where this whole comes from. So obviously the Colonial Marines have dealt with other creatures, and we see that in the comics and we see that in the novels, and I would love to explore some of that.
Oh, great.
And I would love to have something akin to the Cold Forge, which we just an episode is coming out on, I think, next Tuesday on that, so be prepared for that. Something where we're exploring something very in universe and very much of a part with the other films, but it feels different and it's new people. So anyway,
no, I agree. I absolutely agree, and I kind of pulling back a little bit, I think this is a good move for Fox if this is happening. It's R&D, it's research and development. They're trying to find out, what do fans respond to. Fox announced this fan film thing, which we discussed one other time. This is very interesting because they're trying to get fans of these films to find out, to see, what are they writing? What's interesting to them? What are they writing about? What stories do they want to see?
Can I give a quick pitch?
Sure.
I want to say to those of you watching, I read Jamie's actual script that he submitted, and it is – I knew the story already, but the script is fucking amazing. Notice I'm looking at the camera now, not at you, so you don't have to watch. It's amazing. And also, regardless of whether or not it gets picked, it should get picked. But even if it doesn't, there will be a future for this project that we will, announce if it's appropriate when the time comes.
Actually, I just updated. I just revamped it. Not revamped it, but what do you call that? It's in a new draft form. Similar, just some things here and there. But I love it. It came out. I wrote that thing in 4 hours.
It's amazing.
When I get an idea in my head. Oh, I won't. Let's move on to our next topic, which is an article that came out on ScreenHub blog, and it's called Ridley Scott's Alien Problem, and it really dives into not so much the problems with the film or whether Covenant or Prometheus are bad, really talks about the disconnect and the lack of mystery and the issues that these directors have when they go back into these films or these series that are kind of surrounded in mystery, and they pull the curtain back, like The Wizard of Oz. Who's that man behind the curtain? And why that's problematic or can be problematic. And I think you and I share an opinion on Prometheus that a lot of what happened there, writing aside, dialogue and characters aside, some of the bones of, the space jockey's an engineer. Even though I love the engineers as an iconic character, they shouldn't have been the space jockey. So this thing that became this, or that was this, what the fuck is in that thing, I think Kane says it, goes, what the hell is this? Our imagination.
What the hell is this?
our imaginations were enough. We didn't need to know who was in that chair. We didn't need to know.
Right.
Even if, say, Ridley Scott developed a more elephantine creature, which might have been more appropriate, we probably should have not. Still didn't need to know, because it was still going to probably be like, dude, that looks like shit, or dude, that doesn't work. I think science fiction is about mystery. The greatest science fiction asks the greatest questions, and they don't answer them. When science fiction is trying to answer big questions, it's not always working.
Right. It's funny, we talk about 2001: A Space Odyssey a lot on this show, and also on Shoulder of Orion, because I think it's a movie that we all can agree is sort of a watershed moment in science fiction and has had such an influence on so many things. And part of what's wonderful about 2001, because a lot of the time when it comes up in the context of you and I talking about the importance of character, right? And about how in that it's like you're not really rooting for David, like you really don't know you're not really necessarily identifying with a character in that. It's really a movie about ideas and images and time and all these other things. I think I'm not saying that Covenant is on the same level of quality, because in my opinion it's not. But I do think that it functions in a similar way as basically a movie of themes and idea and images. And I think that there is something else, though, to be said for 2001 working perhaps better than Covenant for most audience members in science fiction, partly because it is so rife with mystery. Like, I mean, there are so many layers of what the fuck in that movie, and they're so profound. I mean, starting with the obelisk and going from there, like there's so much strangeness in that movie. And I think that
Are you talking about 2001 or Covenant?
2001.
Okay. The monolith.
And I think, yeah, the monolith, exactly. Yeah, not the obelisk. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I was confused.
I guess it kind of is a little bit of an obelisk, but yeah, the monolith, right? Exactly. It's such a mysterious idea, right? And I think that part of why I love Annihilation so much, and part of why I've been so obsessed with Jeff Vandermeer's work lately. I mean, I literally have another book by him like right next to me right now. I just can't stop reading his work. Is because it is so full of mystery upon mystery upon mystery that you stop looking for answers to questions and you allow the questions to become important unto themselves.
I agree.
And so something like the monolith, for example, because it's something we can't comprehend by looking at it, it doesn't make any sense to any paradigm we know. It's a perfect vessel for mystery. And Annihilation, in the Southern Reach trilogy, of which it is a part, is full of things like that, where it's just like Lovecraft. It brings something up that we can't comprehend, and all he can do is explain what it looks like or what it appears to be, and then it's up to us to figure out what to do with it. So I do think there's something to be said for the lasting power of science fiction having a lot to do with giving us genuine mystery and allowing our imagination to improve upon it or to dive for answers within it.
Absolutely. There's always a balance, and I much like Blade Runner, which you and I discuss, of course, all the time, because we have Shoulder of Orion, the Blade Runner podcast. It is a film of ideas, profound ideas, but simple ones. What is it like to be human? What does it mean to be human? What is human? Can you be human and not? Can you be born human but not be human because of your actions, your lack of empathy, all of these things? And I think about those ideas that really all I'm talking about when I talk about Blade Runner are ideas. Covenant and Prometheus have a lot of those similar ideas in terms of who are we, what are we, why are we here, all of those things. For me, the vessel that I move through Blade Runner is Rachel, and sometimes Deckard. There's an emotional center, and I was thinking about if they had been able to open Walter up a little bit more, if he would have been a little bit more emotional, a little bit more accessible, which I saw in David a little bit in Prometheus. You just kind of saw in him this, well, where am I? Where do I belong in this?
The vulnerability,
yeah, and the mistreatment.
Well, that being said, that the whole point of Walter is to not be like that.
Yes,
right? That's he was built basically, was to get rid of that humanistic quality that David had.
And there's things in Prometheus where the way Holloway or Hollow character is talking to David, like, you piece of shit, like, come on, boy, come over here, like he's nothing. He's nothing to them. And we actually haven't even discussed some of those really interesting things in Prometheus. We need to have
we have to talk about Prometheus.
We will.
There will be a Prometheus series at some point. Because in my goal in that series, like I've said many times, will be to come out of it appreciating the movie, because I don't.
Totally.
But I want to.
Not to make this any much longer, because we want to wrap this up. We wanted to really make it brief. But I think, to reiterate a point, it is about mystery, but it's also about ideas and accessing those, being able to access the ideas, whatever, and relate to them. And I think the alien problem they're discussing is probably a problem that that Fox sees. That, okay, fans are having a hard time relating to these stories. I know that this is what you want to do, but fans are having a hard time relating, and why? And so Fox, it seems, they're taking, if it's true, they're saying, okay, how do we relate to fans more? How do we find an in? They're spending $236,000 on this film contest. And this series, if it's for Hulu or whoever, or Netflix or whatever, that's probably going to be upwards of $40-50 million easily for 10.
Oh, easily, yeah. And
because also they're going to be, I don't know if it's going to be one mission, or if it's going to be a crew, but there's a lot there. But I give props to Fox for taking the time and the effort to really understand how to get it right. Because Alien is a great property. You would know this, I know this, and to see them take steps towards understanding what it is that people are looking for, is the best thing that I could hope for.
And it's also something that I think we have not seen from them to the degree we're seeing it now in the past. And it's led to some of the wildly divergent films that we've gotten in the series that don't seem to have very much of a connection to each other a lot of the time, or to fandom, or to what our expectations are. And I think that's part of where some of the pain in our shared history of this franchise has come from, is from not knowing what the hell the next movie is going to look like or be like or have anything to do with, which can be a very beautiful thing and a very powerful thing, but it can also be a little bit frustrating sometimes. And after 40 years of this franchise, which, remember, we're about to hit 40 years, it's nice that they are taking a moment and being like, this is an established thing that is all throughout popular culture, that is so deeply beloved and so shared among so many generations of people now, that we should maybe take a step back and figure out actually what people are looking for. So that way, when we do come back with a film or with a TV series, it's reflecting what fans are really interested in. And I think that's as somebody who, of course, as I said a trillion times, loves Covenant, I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited for them to be reaching out and looking to us to see, like, well, here was what we said. What do you say? You know? So
I want to
no matter what, this is a win-win.
I would agree. I want to end this with an open letter that I had written to Stacey Snider, who is the CEO and chairman of Fox, because I feel like it, and I wrote this last year, post-Covenant, or during my angst, frustration, but I feel like it nails what we were just discussing. I think she's read it, to be honest with you. Here's the open letter that I wrote. I'm going to read it in entirety, and we'll say our goodbyes afterwards. But I just felt like, and I hope you agree, but if you don't, we can discuss it for a second. So, dear 20th Century Fox, we need to talk about Alien. For many years, the fans have held a long appreciation and abiding love for the Alien universe. Most of us were introduced to the saga in the 80s when Aliens premiered. Some of us go further back and remember seeing Alien in the theaters in 1979. The Alien films have been a testament to the power of amazing storytelling, beginning with The Haunting and Perfect Original, up through the much maligned and now much respected Alien 3, which concluded Ellen Ripley's story arc. Today, we find the Alien universe in a very difficult place. As much as many of us appreciate and love aspects of the latest canonical entries, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, there is much agreement that these new films are missing the gripping story and characters that so much of us came to love in the first three films. We owe so much debt to Ridley Scott, who masterfully told Dan O'Bannon's story on the screen, and James Cameron, who brought Ripley front and center, and David Fincher, who boldly completed Ripley's journey, despite how unpopular the story was with fans upon the film's release in 1992. Today, the fans continue to experience what many of us describe as ongoing PTSD as it relates to the Alien films. We haven't been united under a new film since 1986. 31 years, that's at the time of my writing this. It's been tough going, as aforementioned, and as much as many of us love and appreciate so much of what Prometheus and Alien Covenant have to offer, these films have polarized and segmented the fan base, the likes of which we have never witnessed before. For us, the answer was never about more aliens. That was a criticism leveled at Prometheus that had no basis in truth or fan sentiment. The disconnect from these films comes from their lack of identity. More than that, more than trying to understand what these new films are or aren't about, the glaring issue is the simple fact that instead of these films being made with existing stories, they are cobbled together with a series of ideas. These ideas, however intriguing and holding merit, haven't been enough to flesh out fully a story that fans and audiences can invest in. Make no mistake, however fickle fandom can be, and they can be, about so much, we are looking for a heart and a soul. The first two Alien films had the passion of filmmakers who were burning with stories to tell. These people had to work to get their visions created. We can see that love in the heart. We can see that love and heart each time we put in Alien, Aliens, and yes, even Alien 3. Despite David Fincher's traumatic ride on his vision of the film, what he birthed was a powerfully passionate end to a beloved character. Our wish as fans and audience members is to have an Alien film made by a storyteller, a director burning with a fervor and desire to create a set of characters that we can believe in, dealing with circumstances they could never imagine. Instead of having ideas pitched for a new film, put out the word to directors like Nolan, Duncan Jones, Guillermo del Toro, and ask them if they have a story they'd like to tell, and let them tell it. The fans and audience of the Alien films. What do you
I like it. Yeah,
Okay.
well, I think there's a lot to unpack on there in subsequent episodes, so I don't think we'll get into it now.
Okay.
But I think that was great.
And I've just felt like it's not about Covenant being bad, because I don't think it is a bad film, or Prometheus being bad, because I don't think that's a bad film either. It's just the complication of it, you know.
Yeah.
So we will talk about it more.
It's something. I mean, it's something we've been talking about, and something we'll continue to talk about. And I think we're right now at a moment where we're seeing a possible response from Fox, not necessarily to your letter, who knows, but to the fandom at large, and that I think we're going to be getting something that takes things in a new direction that is perhaps more palatable to more people because of the storytelling and because of the way that it's presented. And I do love the auteur approach that Ridley's been taking on this, and I like that he's sort of chasing his vision. But
Yes.
I do admit that it is splitting fandom quite a bit. And I think, although I want to see him finish it, that it might be a nice palate cleanser in the interim to have something that we can all agree is just a great, simple story that we all can love. So, yeah. I mean, who knows? We'll see where we go.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everyone.
And
have a good 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everybody in the States, and everybody else around the world. Have a great day.
All right.